Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world by area, but despite this massive footprint, over 85% of the country's population, or 41 million people, live in the northern half, leaving the south feeling extremely empty. So why don't more Argentinians live in the southern half of the country? Welcome to Geography by Geoff. Argentina is incredible in so many ways, but not least is the way in which its population has organized itself. In the far north is the vast majority of Argentinians, particularly within Buenos Aires. And as usual, there are some dominating geographic reasons for this. But first, today's podcast is all about whales. So much of what we do focuses on the land part of our planet. So this time, we're taking to the oceans to explore how whales move around our planet. You can listen to that episode right now, right here on YouTube, or whatever app you use to listen to podcasts. All links are in the description below. Argentina has a long history that spans not just the country that exists today, but also the indigenous peoples of the region. Long before European explorers set foot on the fertile plains of the Pampas or navigated through the Andes, diverse groups of people such as the Daiguira, Guarani, Tehuelche, and Mapuche inhabited what is now known as Argentina. These communities thrived through agriculture, hunting, and trading, with societies ranging from the hunter-gatherer nomads of Patagonia to the sedentary agriculturalists in the Northwest. But as expected for South America, the arrival of Spanish conquistadors in the 1500s marked the beginning of a new era. The quest for silver led to the establishment of the Viceroyalty of Peru, under which the region fell initially. Buenos Aires was founded in 1536 by Pedro de Mendoza, but was initially abandoned due to indigenous resistance. It wasn't until 1580 that the city was re-established by Juan de Garay as a Spanish stronghold. Over the centuries, Spanish settlers and missionaries spread, slowly exerting control over the territory. During colonial times, Buenos Aires began to flourish due to its strategic location and the introduction of cattle, which became a cornerstone of the local economy. However, the vast distance from the administrative centers of the Spanish Empire bred a strong sense of localism and autonomy among the settlers. This sentiment fermented and eventually contributed to the May Revolution of 1810, which deposed the Spanish viceroy and established a local government. The path to independence was fraught with internal and external conflicts. Figures such as José de San Martín and Manuel Belgrano were instrumental in the subsequent wars of independence against royalist forces. By 1816, through the Congress of Tucumán, Argentina formally declared independence from Spain. Yet, unity was elusive, and the new country struggled with conflicts between federalists and Unitarians who disagreed on the degree of autonomy provinces should have. The 1800s witnessed Argentina's transformation into a major agricultural exporter, a change fueled by European investment and immigration. This influx, especially of Italians and Spaniards, profoundly reshaped Argentine culture, language, and society. The economy boomed, and by the early 1900s, Argentina was among the world's richest nations per capita. However, the 1900s was marked by political instability and economic challenges. The rise and fall of Juan Domingo Perón and his wife Evita brought social reforms and populist policies, but also led to periods of authoritarian rule and economic difficulties. Subsequent decades saw military dictatorships, most notoriously the regime from 1976 to 1983, which was responsible for widespread human rights abuses during the so-called Dirty War. It's worth pointing out here that this was all part of Operation Condor, an elaborate plan by the CIA of the United States to oust left-wing governments in South and Central America and replace them with right-wing dictatorships. Returning to democracy in 1983, Argentina struggled with debt, inflation, and corruption, culminating in a severe economic crisis in 2001 that led to massive protests and the resignation of several presidents. And unfortunately for Argentina, these same economic issues continue to cause issues within the country today. Argentina is an incredible country with a deep history punctuated by its dominating physical geography. But before we get to the physical geography of Argentina, if you're enjoying this video, hit that subscribe button. More fun geography videos are just a single click away. Argentina, stretching from the Tropic of Capricorn down to the frigid expanses near the Antarctic, offers a wide variety of physical landscapes. And while Chile is one of the longest countries in the world at 4,300 kilometers, giving it a vast array of different biomes, Argentina is pretty close to the same length at 3,694 kilometers. In the north, the geography is dominated by the Gran Chaco, a hot and semi-arid lowland with a landscape that includes both dry and humid zones. The region is mostly flat and covered in dense forests and scrublands, which give way to vast wetlands in places like the province of Formosa. The climate here is generally warm, supporting a rich variety of wildlife and numerous indigenous communities. Further west, the arid Punya Plateau presents a stark contrast with its rugged, mountainous terrain and high-altitude salt flats. This region forms part of the larger Andean Plateau, extending across several South American countries. Nearby, one finds the lush valleys and temperate forests of the Northwest, home to some of Argentina's oldest settlements. This area, particularly around Salta and Jujuy, features colorful rock formations and is known for its vineyards that produce high-altitude wines. Descending towards the center of the country, the geography transitions into the vast plains of the Pampas, Argentina's agricultural heartland. This fertile region is the economic engine of the country, where the cultivation of soybeans, maize, and wheat abounds. The Pampas also host the bustling metropolis of Buenos Aires, lying on the banks of the Rio de la Plata estuary, which serves as a major hub for commerce, culture, and politics. Moving further south, the landscape becomes increasingly rugged and windswept as one approaches Patagonia. This region is renowned for its breathtaking scenery, including massive ice fields, pristine blue lakes, and some of the world's most dramatic mountain vistas. The northern Patagonian Andes are milder and more humid, supporting lush forests and ski resorts, whereas the southern Patagonian ice field, near the border with Chile, is colder and more arid. The eastern part of Patagonia, meanwhile, features the Patagonian steppe, a vast expanse of arid scrublands that are occasionally interrupted by petrified forests and interspersed with productive oil fields. The Atlantic coast of Patagonia is famous for its wildlife, including penguins, seals, and whales, particularly in the Valdez Peninsula, which serves as a crucial breeding ground for various marine species. Finally, at the southern tip of the continent, the archipelago of Tierra del Fuego represents the final frontier of Argentine geography. This remote and rugged area features a cold and wet maritime climate with mossy forests and tundra. The Beagle Channel, named after the ship that carried Charles Darwin on his historic voyage, separates the main island from the smaller islands to the south and offers some of the most spectacular glacial and mountainous scenery in the country. From north to south, Argentina's physical geography is overwhelming, and it's this exact geography that fuels the population divide between the north and south. Argentina's population distribution is markedly uneven, with approximately 85% of the population, or 41 million people, living in the northern half of the country, leaving the southern half with a scant 6 million people. This stark demographic contrast can be attributed to a combination of historic, economic, climatic, and geographic factors. The Buenos Aires metropolitan area itself is a major factor in this distribution. As the political and economic heart of the country, Buenos Aires has historically attracted immigrants and migrants from within Argentina and around the world. The city's development was fueled by European immigration in the late 1800s and early 1900s, establishing it as a cultural and economic hub. This concentration of services, industry, and infrastructure has created a magnetic effect, drawing more people to the city and its surroundings for economic opportunities and better living standards. Beyond Buenos Aires, other northern regions such as Cordoba and Rosario also contribute to the dense population in the north. These areas are economically significant, with Cordoba being a major industrial center and Rosario serving as a crucial hub for agricultural exports. The fertile Pampas, which cover much of this northern region, are some of the most productive agricultural lands in the world. The availability of jobs in agriculture, agro-industries, and related services has sustained large populations in these areas. And related to this, the climate in the northern half of Argentina is more hospitable than the southern half. The north enjoys a more temperate climate, which is conducive to growing food and comfortable living within warmer weather, whereas the southern regions, particularly in Patagonia, are characterized by harsher weather conditions, including colder temperatures, stronger winds, and lower precipitation, which are less conducive to dense human settlement and traditional farming. Geographically, the vast and rugged terrain of southern Argentina also poses challenges for large-scale habitation and development. The Andean Mountains and the remote expanses of the Patagonian steppe are less suitable for agriculture. The economic activities in these regions, such as oil and gas production and tourism, don't require as large a workforce as the industrial and service activities in the north. Furthermore, the historic development of infrastructure has favored the northern half of the country, which was closer to the heart of the Spanish Empire. Transportation networks such as roads and railways have historically been concentrated in the more populous regions, reinforcing existing patterns of settlement and economic activity. This infrastructure bias helps perpetuate the population density in the north as it enhances accessibility and economic growth. Today, Argentina would be led by the overwhelmingly dominant Buenos Aires metropolitan area with about 16.7 million people. This would be followed by Cordoba with 2.4 million, Rosario with 1.3 million, Mendoza with 1 million, and San Miguel de Tucumán with 830,000. All of these cities are located in the north. The south's largest city would be Mar del Plata with 680,000 people, Bahia Blanca with 300,000, Neuquén with 225,000, and Comodoro Rivadavia with 182,000 people. The Argentine city of Ushuaia, the southernmost city in the world, has a population of just 82,000 people. But left out of all this population wrangling are the Falkland Islands, also known as the Malvinas, a small island chain that Argentina has consistently claimed ownership of, but is controlled by the United Kingdom. Argentina's claim to the Falkland Islands, known as the Isla Malvinas in Spanish, is rooted in colonial legacy, national identity, and international law. This territorial dispute with the United Kingdom over the control of the islands has persisted since the 1800s and remains a contentious issue for Argentina, stirring strong nationalist sentiments. The basis of Argentina's claim dates back to the Spanish colonial era. The Spanish Empire initially established a presence in the region, which was inherited by Argentina following its independence from Spain in 1816. Argentina argues that it inherited the rights to the Falkland Islands from Spain, maintaining that the islands were administered as part of the Spanish territories in the region, which later became part of the newly independent state. In 1820, Argentina took formal possession of the islands, and by 1829, it had established a governorship on the Falklands, reinforcing its claim through administrative actions. However, this Argentine presence was short-lived. In 1833, British forces expelled the small Argentine garrison stationed on the islands, asserting their claim, which dates back to their sighting and nominal occupation in the 1600s. The United Kingdom's claim is based on its continued administration of the islands since 1833, except for a brief period in 1982 during the Falklands War, when Argentine forces occupied the islands. The British justify their sovereignty over the Falklands by citing effective occupation, administration, and the principle of self-determination for the island's inhabitants, who overwhelmingly prefer to remain British, as demonstrated in a 2013 referendum where 99.8% voted to remain a British overseas territory, though Argentina does not recognize the Falklands Island referendum. For Argentina, the dispute is not only about territorial sovereignty, but also about national pride and memory, especially following the 1982 Falklands War. This conflict, initiated by Argentina in an attempt to reclaim the islands, resulted in significant loss of life and had profound effects on Argentine society and politics. The war reinforced the island's symbolic significance to Argentines and is commemorated every April 2nd on Malvinas Day, reflecting the deep emotional and nationalistic ties many Argentinians feel towards the claim. Internationally, the dispute involves complex diplomatic maneuvers. Argentina has sought to press its claim through international forums such as the United Nations, emphasizing principles of territorial integrity and decolonization. The UN has called for negotiations between the UK and Argentina to reach a peaceful resolution, though substantial progress has been elusive. Today, the People's Republic of China and Russia have both sided with Argentina in its pursuit of sovereignty of the Falkland Islands, while Taiwan and Canada have largely sided with the UK. For their part, the United States and European Union recognize the current de facto administration of the island, but have no official position on who should have control over the islands. Argentina is a huge country, but its size does not mean that its people have spread out and occupied every area in the same way. The southern geography of Argentina poses considerable obstacles to establishing large populations, and unless that changes, the northern half will likely always remain incredibly dominant. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Argentina. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. If you want to watch more videos, click here. If you want to listen to the podcast, click here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.